All right, here we are. Yay! Um, Thank you for joining us. I am one of your two hosts, Noor Kyle.
And I am the other one of your two hosts, Mushtaq Ali.
Yes, and we want to thank you for joining us for our usual Sunday talk. Usually on our third Sunday of each month, we do two talks in the same day. We're going to be doing that next week. So if you'd like to join us for our once monthly other talk, we will be doing it next Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. And of course, on the same day, you can join us at our usual time at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. And yeah, do we have any? Yes, we do have an announcement.
We
So
have a
we
few
still have
announcements.
a couple weeks before we get started with our 2023 virtual retreat within the Nine-Sided Circle. And this year's theme, this is our fourth annual virtual retreat, is the art of devotion. Now, I had someone ask me, is this devotion to the path? And I said, yes, but it is also devotion to, the divine in general, to a beloved companion, to a heartfelt craft. We are being very expansive in what we mean by devotion and
We're going to
longing.
stuff devotion into this retreat like breadcrumbs in a turkey.
Yes. It was very graphic, but it works. It works. All right. So keep that in mind. There's going to be an avenue in which this may resonate for you. So if you haven't already, in our description this evening, we will have a link to our landing page where you can read about what we're going to be doing and you can register for that. It is donation based, which means it's more or less free and you can contribute whatever amount is comfortable for you in support of the school in general so that we can keep the lights on, pay our Zoom bills, all of that fun stuff. We get as much out of it as you do. And you just help us stay motivated to keep this going when you participate in events like that. So I
Yeah,
look
and
forward to whoever gets to join us. We're very
yeah, the
excited.
rule on the donations is that it's what you can afford, when you can afford it, and only out of your disposable income.
Yeah,
That's important. You are not allowed to skimp on your food money to give money to us.
no.
You can skip Starbucks once. That's okay. We don't mind. And a couple people do that, and we've made a fortune. So, um,
Yes. So that is, I think it's 5 weeks, but it's 6 Saturday sessions at 8 p.m. Pacific time. We chose that time because, as I put it to someone else, and as Mushtaka said, it is universally inconvenient, meaning like it's not a great time for us either, but we want to make sure that we're able to give everyone some kind of opportunity to show up at a time that isn't
yeah, it's one of the
two in the
few
morning.
places where we can get India in the Middle East and Australia together in the same room, and nobody's completely nodding off.
Yeah, and it's early for you Europeans, but it's not, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. for you guys as a start time. So forgive us and also
Yeah,
thank
we
us
suffer
for
with you.
being so generous. Yeah, so check that out. As I said, the bit.ly link will be in the description. And yeah, register. It would mean a lot to us. We can't wait to see you there. Okay, anything else?
Oh, yeah. It would be absolutely wonderful if you subscribed to our channel. There are
Yeah, the
many
basics.
of you who watch these videos according to our metrics, and very few of you subscribe. It would be so nice to have your subscription because it makes us look good. Trust me, we need to look good. The other thing you can do is to like our videos. We are getting more and more haters, and the likes balance out the hates. So if you have enjoyed our video, take a moment to hit the like button and tell the haters that they can go get stuffed.
Like that turkey.
Yeah, like that turkey.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully we don't have many haters, but we have some
We're
pretty
getting more. We're getting more.
determined
Yeah.
ones
Yeah,
who,
we are now offending uh the more conservative Muslims.
mm, well, good for us.
I've been informed a couple of times in the last week that we're not really Muslim.
Well, many of you are
I was
not. I
crushed. I
mean,
mean, I've been praying 5 times a day since 1972. And then I find out that I'm not really Muslim. What are you going to do with that?
carry on. That's what
All
we're
right.
gonna do. Yeah. All
Oh,
right.
the other thing you can do, one last thing you can do, comment on the videos. We have been getting really cool comments lately, both on our most recent videos and on some of our more fun older videos. So if you would like to comment on the video, we would be grateful, and we will answer you if we can. And if we can't, we will make something up that sounds silly at least.
And others have been kind enough to chat with each other in the comments as well. So that's always cool.
Yeah.
Seeing people make connections. All right. So this evening is a continuation of our discussion last week, titled The Enneagram of the Now. And we started discussing how to embrace the now, how to approach the now, how to sense into the now through a practice that we did last week that was kind of the door opening to more advanced
Part
aspects
one.
of the practice. And
Yes.
we got started on fleshing out the actual Enneagram itself with the 3 primary points.
Yes. And today we are going to finish the Enneagram and give you the moving lines because they make this interesting. And we are going to give you we're going to finish the practice for you. And it'll make sense why we did it in 2 parts after you see the Enneagram.
Mm-hmm. So if you have not watched that video already, we recommend taking a step back to go watch that, and then immediately, of course, come back and watch this current one.
Yeah. And then like the video.
Yes, like both
Leave
of
a
them,
comment.
please. Yes. All right. So let's get started.
All right. Does that mean I get to share my screen?
Yes. I'm excited for that. I like the fade in that you got going.
All righty. So here's where we left off last week. We have the 3 shock points set up. By the way, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, there will be a link at the end of the video to our playlist of Enneagram materials where you can learn the basics of the Enneagram process. And if you don't know that, go back and learn it, then come back and see this, like our videos, leave a comment. So we have the entering exiting shock, which we call the now. It's like, psst, hey man, you want to buy some now? Yeah, right there. Then the second shock is sensing the present moment. And the third shock is surrendering into the present moment. Now, all of that is a good place to start, but we have the 1 point. You guys all hit the 1 point last week through noticing that there is a now. Believe it or not, there are many, many people in the world who never noticed that there is a now. They're so lost in their heads, so lost in their thoughts about the past, their thoughts about the future, their thoughts about their feelings, their thoughts about other people, whatever, that they don't ever notice that there is a now. So you touched on that last week. There is a now. And that's pretty self-explanatory. So we're going to go right on to the next one. Learning the practice. Y'all remember the practice, right? That thing that we did last week with the breathe in for 3 beats and then let it go. Breathe in for 3 beats while noticing the now, and then pause at the top of that and notice that the now slips away. The now becomes the then. And then repeating that over and over again. So let me stop this for a second and go, who here actually did the breath practice at all last week? Show of hands. Ah, we got
A good chunk of people.
good chunk of people. Yay. Ah, that's so refreshing. I used to teach college, and yeah, I used to be, all right, everybody hand in your homework. And they look at me like, what? So I am refreshed. So what did you think of that process?
Yeah, Osama. Sure.
Um, the process was great. It grounded, if I can use that word. I don't even know if that's the correct word, but it did ground uh, the inner meditation, the inner dhikr, as I was going through it. So there was as a different element on top of the dhikr itself, or kind of some kind of enhancement that it did with it. I do have a question.
Yes.
From the experience. Sometimes, and this is, I think, is great with the first point that you have, which is noticing the now. So I've noticed that sometimes the experience comes as a state of being. So then I'm experiencing the now in a state of being. And sometimes it's kind of like just the head. It's kind of like a thought. I don't know if it's an actual, but it feels more of a thought thing.
The first one is ideal.
Okay.
Yeah, the second one is okay, but the
Mhm.
first one is ideal. And you don't have to experience that every time you do this just yet. Because we have, having gone through these two things, these two steps, pull this up again. You've learned the practice, and the practice has gotten you to the third shock, or the three shock, the first conscious shock, which
the sensing of the
yes,
present
the
moment.
sensing the present moment.
Yeah.
Which is what you're talking about. When you're in that state of presence and you're perceiving the now, you are sensing the present moment. And that is qualitative change. Not just quantitative change. So, show of hands, who knows who Teilhard de Chardin is? Great. So you all know his basic idea of evolution was that you start out as a something, and that something gets more complicated until it can't get more complicated without making a fundamental change within itself. That's what you're experiencing. When you start experiencing the present moment, the now, as being, you're entering a different state. You are entering the next level of your evolution in a very real sense. You can still go back to sleep. It's okay. Don't worry. But it's a true qualitative change. It's not just changing quantity, it's changing quality. Yeah, like the point where the mammals got so complex that the ape went, I wonder what that mushroom tastes like. It was all downhill from there, man.
That's great. That's great. Thank you.
So let's get to the next step, because that's going to be the next step. Refining the practice of sensing the now. That's what you have been doing for at least part of this week. Getting more and more used to feeling, oh, I'm in the now. I am present. I am being in the now. And not just being in the now, but also being in the now. Now you're still good. You can still go back to sleep. But here, going down from that point, straight down where you can't see it, where it's hidden, or it is secret, and you don't notice that you crossed it until after you have, when it's too late, is the equator. Because the equator is the point of no return. Once you've gone past it, you can never go back. As hard as you try, you cannot go back. It's literally, you cannot uncook the food once you've applied the heat. And this section of the Enneagram is all about applying the heat. We're going to come over here and we're going to go. The next part of this practice is learning to lengthen the sensed now. And it's at 0.5, which is the point of most work. Also the point of, God damn it, and the point of, who thought this was a good idea?
Why am I doing this again?
Yeah, that point. So the thing to remember is that once you've crossed this equator, you can never successfully go back. People will try. And when they do, they, one, lose all of their energy. And two, the only way they can hold back the knowledge of their own experience is by becoming more and more sedimented. This is how people who start out as mystics become fundamentalists. Because they come up to the abyss and they go, son of a bitch. I'm not going to jump across that.
What about like spiritual burnout? Where you're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna have a 9 to 5 and I don't want to think about this stuff anymore.
Yeah, and then again, you have to become more and more sedimented in your consciousness in order to pull that off. Because once you have seen the elephant, you cannot unsee the elephant. And it's a problem. And it's the problem with the path, is that there is a point of no return when, if you try and jump off the path, you literally tear a hole in yourself in a certain way, and all of your energy drains out and you become a Republican. God help us.
This is how we get trolls, just so you know.
Go ahead, rub it in.
So 0.5, yeah. Oh, Summit, sure.
Jump in here. This is like, I feel like you're speaking to me right now in this jumping, going back, the point of no return.
Yeah, you've experienced this.
Yeah, like even as you're talking about it, I'm sensing the number one, I can describe it as fear of that. Yeah. And number two, there's this constant thing of continuation, like start, continues that, like there has to be this continuation. And I feel like that's always a reminder in the back of my, like, continue. And to Noor's point, sometimes I do feel like it is tiring, like, oh, like that I don't know what term you used, that fatigue,
The dark night of the soul is,
Yeah, I said like
uh,
spiritual burnout, but I think there are many names for that, you know.
yeah,
yeah,
in the hero's journey, point 5 is the dark night of the soul. And
yeah,
it's hard. It's rough because point 4 is kind of fun. Point 4 is like, oh man, look at all of this. This is new. I know where the now is. Hot diggity dang.
Wow.
And the next thing you know, it's, I have to do what? For how long? Forever? Are you kidding? And this is why in the Sufi path, in the real Sufi path, in the Sufi path of the people who don't necessarily wear turbans all the time, we don't encourage people to join us. My teacher used to say, people would come in, oh, Sheikh, I want to be a Sufi. And he'd look at them and go, no, you don't. This is hard. Try the Zen guys. I mean, yeah, they'll hit you with a stick every now and again, but their way is easy. You just sit there. You don't have to do anything but just sit. Sufism is difficult. Be a Christian. I mean, all you have to do is say the magic words and you get to go to heaven, which is different than what Jesus said, but we won't get into that this time. But all of that, Sufism is hard. Sufism is the path of point 5 in a lot of ways.
I think that resonates for me. Yeah.
Yeah, you've been there. I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
And if that doesn't scare you off, we have some more stories for you next week. So let's talk about how you lengthen, you extend the now. So you remember when we started the breathing practice, it was 3 beats in, pause, and then exhale. Now we're still going to exhale because otherwise you inflate and then you float off. So you have to exhale. But now we're going to use that exhale. And it's going to be 3 beats in, holding the now, pause, let the now go, be in the now at that pause, then exhale for 6 beats and see if you can hold the now for the entire 6 beats. In the old days, the way we learned to do this was like this. I would inhale going, silent zikr, got my tasbih, ready to go. And I'd be going, La ilaha illallah, holding the now, stop, then out. La ilaha illallah, Muhammadan Rasulullah, pause. That gives me 6 beats. You don't have to do any of that because if you say those magic words, you might become a Muslim without knowing it. So be careful
Yeah.
with that. Those are dangerous words.
That's the thing people say when they,
Yeah.
they
What
bear
I'm
witness.
saying is that there is no God but God. There is no reality but the one reality. And Muhammad was one of the prophets of God. He was the messenger, Rasul, messenger. So he brought the message to us. And it doesn't deny any of the other messengers because there have been thousands of messengers known and unknown according to Islam. We don't know all the messengers. We don't know who they were. We don't know their gender. We don't know their age. We don't know nothing. Secret. Secret. So let's try this. Breathe in for a nice, comfortable count of 3 while holding the now. Pause for just a moment and notice that now is in the past. Now breathe out for 6 beats, trying to hold the now for all 6 beats. Pause at the end, repeat. And what you're going to notice is that you're not going to make it to 6 beats. The now is going to slip away from you. But this is like lifting weights. You start out, you're weak, you're puny. And you lift the now, you do your now sept curls. And after a while, you can hold it for 6 beats. This is going to give us a total of 9 beats of now. Split into a 3 and a 6, kind of like an Enneagram as it happens.
How appropriate.
Yeah.
So James
There is
has
no
his hand up.
relationship, but
No, but it's awfully convenient and it may help you remember.
yeah, and there's a relationship, but there's no relationship. Yes, James.
It's all connected, man.
Fish nostrils, dog butts. I want to make sure I'm not mixing things. You see, in terms of holding the now, from past practices, from way, way back, I've always been inclined to one or two things. Either keep focus on a central point, like, say, breath in the nostrils, or a more of a going wide into a sort of direct experience of the now around me. And
Focus on your breath.
Focus
On your breath. Pay attention to your breath. First precept of our school, Hoshtadam.
Yes.
Awareness of breath.
Okay. Just want to make sure I was using the right mechanism.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was it. That was my sole question.
If you do it wrong, you'll know, because eventually your head will explode. If that happens, you made a mistake.
Yes. I don't want to push it that far, though.
Good. Check in from time to time then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, James, I'm a little bit worried there in the temples. I'm seeing some throbbing. Yeah. Let's back off on that.
Good. Thank you.
So we're going to come back to this practice. I just want to get through the Enneagram.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And yes, so hold on to those questions. Type them in the chat if you're afraid you'll forget. Carry on, Mushtaq.
I am carrying on. Find you. Oh. Share. Okay, so as we learn to lengthen the sense to now, there will come a point where we surrender into that now. We just allow it to be, because if you are actively trying to hold the now, it's only going to go so far. Holding that sense to now is best accomplished by surrendering to it and just letting yourself be connected to the now, and it will naturally begin to expand. This gets us to point 7. Moving through the world while in the now. So far, you've been sitting on your butt. This point says, get up. Practice this while walking down the street. For those of you who are in the retreat this year, you're going to learn exactly how to do that, because we're going to teach you the walk of the dervish. Very exciting. But in order to deepen this practice any further than 5, you have to get through the shock and then make the practice part of your everyday life. And that gets us to the last point on the Enneagram. Life lived in the now. So we have filled the Enneagram in. We have filled in first the 3 shocks and then the moving lines. And it's a very simple process. I mean, we've done much more complex Enneagrams than this. So this is a simple one. So, noticing that there is a now, this busy bee in the center, he sees you here, and he looks forward to point 4, and he goes, I want this person to be able to refine their practice of sensing the now. They've noticed that there is a now. They have to refine that. And you look backwards along here and go, the reason I want them to refine this is so that they can actually be active in the world while in the now. Make sense? Here you are learning the practice. The bee is going, okay, I need to give them a practice that does 2 things. It needs to be one that can be incrementally refined, and it needs to be one that is crafted so the person will come to the place of life lived in the now. That's what the practice is going to do. How do we do that? We jump across the equator and we learn to lengthen the sensed now. We learn to go from the standard, maybe 2 to 3 seconds that most people can pull off, to a much larger chunk. First, it is the 3 and the 6. That makes it a little bit easier. It's going to take a minute to get that 6 down, but it can be done, trust me. Once you get to the point where that can be done, you will be given the opportunity to surrender into the present moment. A certain amount of barakah will be offered to you. Not by us. We don't got no barakah. But
Grace,
by
blessing.
yeah, by the one, by the divine unity, by the truth, by the real. That's where the barakah comes from. But when we're here learning to lengthen the now, we need to look at 2 things. The idea of, I need to hold the now long enough to move through the world. And the purpose of doing that is so I can live in the now. So there you have the basic Enneagram. Any questions before I harangue you further? Yes, Khalil.
I'm wondering about the difference cognitively between performing the exercises you're describing, or you've been describing it, and simply paying extremely close attention to the words of the Shahada, such that you have unwavering attention and you get into a flow state of praying the prayer.
Yeah, it's harder.
It's being what you're telling us to do?
No, what I'm telling you to do is easier than
Easy.
what.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's way easier.
So getting into the flow state would be harder.
Yeah.
I mean, focusing on the words.
Focusing on the words to get in the flow state,
Okay.
in my experience, is harder. Not that it can't be done. I mean, there are some people who attain nearness to God doing only that, only reciting the Shahada and nothing else. But for us more lowly people, it helps to have some practices and to do it incrementally. So
yeah, because I was just going to say, it seems, when I was practicing it this week, because I've been doing this kind of prayer for years with different, mostly through Christian hesychasm with the Jesus prayer. But
yeah,
I find that saying the Shahada, the way you taught it, to be a little more difficult than the way I've been doing it, because the notion of like trying to conjure up an idea of the now seems kind of abstract, whereas it's just a very simple task to focus on what you're supposed to be doing. Like, focus on your reading. Okay, I'm going to read this whole page without wavering, without getting distracted. And that's just like a very kind of simple mechanical task. But to kind of say, oh, you have to kind of feel the now, I'm not really connecting with that idea.
give it a little time.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, this takes practice. This is not a simple technique. This is usually you don't get this for at least a year after you take bayat, after you take initiation. I'm throwing this out there because the world desperately needs this kind of stuff. And yeah, some people's heads might explode, but such is the risks. But if you can, without saying the Shahada, if you can sense the now within the breath, that's the start. You know, just be there. Notice the now, and notice where now becomes then. That threshold, that what's the word I'm looking for?
Tipping point.
Yeah, kind of a tipping point. It'll come to me. It's one of those weird things you get around black holes.
Event horizon.
Yeah, the event horizon. That's what I'm looking for. There is an event horizon between now and then, and now and not yet. And you have to learn to sense when you've slipped from one to the other. And one of our favorite things to do as thinking creatures is to get a moment of now and then stay thinking about it even after it's become then.
And you've been pulled out of the now at that point without even realizing it, and then you're fantasizing about the now.
Yeah.
Or bemoaning the now, whichever it may be.
Or being angry about the now, or being
Yeah.
for the now, or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's so tricky.
So, but it seems like it's at that point of emotional distress where you start double thinking and getting distressed and worrying and bemoaning. That's when you leave the now, because
Yes,
like,
exactly.
you know, somebody who, like a philosopher, somebody who has a lot of deep thoughts all the time, they can go an extended period of time without getting emotionally caught up in their thoughts, and yet be able to go off and, you know, build big systems and whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Right.
sometimes you just want to be like, shut the fuck up,
Right.
zero in
Yeah,
on now.
like you and like Ilmar, I took my degree in philosophy, training mostly under Dr. Peter Kostenbaum, who I consider one of the most brilliant thinkers that the world has seen in my lifetime. And which means I've hung out with a lot of philosophers, and they can do that deep thinking, and they're just not present. I noticed this a lot. Dr. Kostenbaum was always present in my experience then, but or mostly present. But most of the rest of us were off in la la land half the time.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ilmar? You are a philosopher. Philosophize for us.
Not a fair thing to ask of me. I just came out of a week-long Zen retreat. To get into philosophy right now would be a little bit weird. So I'll leave that part to you.
Fair enough. Enjoy it. Enjoy having that part just kind of mellow out. Yeah. Just to touch base, I know we've used the word Shahada a bunch. For those who are not familiar with that, that harkens back to what Mushtaq was saying earlier about there is no reality except a divine reality, and Muhammad is a prophet of that divine reality with a message to share. So
Yeah.
Shahada means it's like a bearing witness. It's like a...
Yeah, and when you become a Muslim, you say, Ashadu an la ilaha illallah. God, it's been a while since I've done that, the whole thing. Ashadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, or Muhammadan abduhu Rasuluhu, depending on which flavor of Muslim you might be. There are Muslims.
And that means
I bear witness to the fact that there is no reality but the true, but the one, no God but God. And I bear witness to the fact that Muhammad is the servant and the messenger of that reality.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure.
He's dead now, but back
then.
then.
At the time that was shared,
yep,
he was physically
and because
present.
we work with his message, we still do that.
Yep. Just didn't want anyone to be left out of understanding the context. So thanks, guys.
Yeah. And it's a Sufi thing.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do that. You got to, like I said, you got to be careful because you might accidentally become a Muslim.
It's happened. Case in point. Yeah. So.
Not if you stay out of my dreams, or what?
I'll do what I
Not you,
can. No promises.
but you might say it in your dreams, and you know that counts.
All the Americans shaking in their boots. All right.
Yeah.
So, um, ah, so the now is we've talked about it being slippery, and it really can be, but this practice helps us kind of embrace that slipperiness and work with it.
Yeah. It creates an incremental set of steps that allows you to go forward one step at a time rather than trying to do it all at once, which can be done, but in my experience is difficult. It's like, all right, everybody sit down. Okay, are you comfortable? All right, on 3, be enlightened. 1, 2, 3. Did it work? Yeah, you can get away with that, but it's hard. So this is for those of us who are a little bit slower and who prefer a methodical path. I think next week we're going to have to revisit the Enneagram of the work and maybe elaborate on it, because that makes why we do it this way a little bit clearer. A little bit clearer.
All right, so let's plan on that.
Yeah. So let's revisit the practice, because I want that to get anybody who's doing it. And this is especially for those of you who are watching this video on the replay and trying the practice. This is where you use the comments down there. Get a little help. Check and make sure that everything is working right for you. You know, we will answer you if you ask about this. And our answers will be consummate with your questions.
All right, shall we dive in? Let's do
Let's
this
dive in. So,
one more time.
3 beats on the inhale. So you're just going to go and pause at the top. As you're inhaling, you be present. You experience this is the now. As you pause at the top, you allow that now to become then. It's English is a bad language to describe this. And then you let the air out and you do it again. 3 beats. Pause. Let the air out. And notice on the inhale, those 3 beats, that you can be present. You can be in the now. At the end of that, that goes into memory. It drifts off. When you have gotten fairly good at that, you add the second part, which is inhale 3 beats. And let go of the now. Now exhale 6 beats. Trying to be present through the whole 6 beats. In the beginning, you will notice that the beginning of the 6 beats slips into the past before you get to the end of the 6 beats. This is to be expected. Don't be discouraged. Take heart in the fact that you're noticing it. Over time, as you practice and work on staying present, you will elongate the time that you can hold as the now. After you've done this to where you can comfortably keep the now for 3 beats and then 6 beats, the next phase, and I will tell you this so I don't have to do another video, is to hold the now for 9 beats for the inhale and the exhale without letting it go. That is very hard. And in my experience, the now is a little bit like breathing. This is why we do it with the breath, is that you're going to have now, then you're going to have a pause, and then you're going to have more now, and then another pause, and then now, and a pause, and more now, like that. And it's like inhaling in and out. You're moving the now into the past, and then moving through the now again and letting that go into the past until you can, when you can hold the now for 9 beats, you're in a pretty high state. You're doing good. Your practice is getting solid. And that's all there is to it. You have now officially developed being present. And then you work on doing it in the world. Fun, no?
Any last questions?
Thoughts? Queries?
I'll say thank you for all this. I actually find this tremendously motivating.
Yay.
Yay.
Because at the moment I'm struggling. It's a struggle I know I can do, but I don't like it, and part of me doesn't want to admit that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
I really think different bits of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember early 70s. I'm struggling with this, and there's part of me that's going, why am I doing this? I want to be thinking about that beautiful Persian girl that I saw walking down the street today. And, you know, the mind is going, look, think over there, think about the future, think about the past, imagine, fantasize, do all of this stuff. The world is full of your toys. Why aren't you playing with them? And I'm going, shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Like that.
Yep.
Yep.
And I was in Isfahan at the time, and this was before the Ayatollahs made all the women wear giant sacks over their heads. So I can tell you that Persian women are uniformly beautiful. And very distracting when you're in your early 20s.
Well, I seem to be in a very sort of dry phase where none of that is really registering with me anymore, but part of me kind of wants it to, if that makes any sense. But the other part of me knows the futility of certain things now, has seen them and felt them very directly. So that's why I meant there's sort of a bit of a minor struggle going on.
Like things are blah, kind of?
It's not depression, because I know what that is too from very direct experience. Mm-hmm. It's a kind of a puzzling indifference that kind of upsets my previous sense of self. Yeah. And part of me is saying, no, I should be doing this, that, and the other, and that's what I always did, and that's my self-image, and
Mm-hmm.
It's not depression. It's just some weird liminal intermediary place. And
well, look forward to the fact that you will be tempted with many wonderful things that you have not experienced yet.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All new temptation.
I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to, give you a sounding of where I'm at.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I mean, I've been there. Yeah. Khalil describes it as, perhaps flat affect. Like, I get it. It's not exactly depression.
No.
It's just, yeah.
The only other thing I want to say, and this is secondary, and perhaps this is because of my dream of having to defend the Hobart Muslims this morning. Have you already done any video that really goes into, I suppose, not the difference, but like, so what we're doing is a uniquely Muslim path, but you're not requiring us to be Muslim.
I don't
Have you ever gone
even.
to
I
go into?
personally don't even know if I would even describe it as uniquely Muslim, personally.
Right.
Yeah, it is uniquely Muslim at its core. But this is
Right.
why we refer to Gurdjieff, because he began finding ways to teach the science of it without the religion of it. And we are striving to do the same thing.
Okay.
As I like to say, there is no religious test to be part of the nine-sided circle.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you, James. Please go
Well,
ahead.
I tend to waffle anyhow, but well, I'm thinking of these things on the spot and then trying to express them. It's not always a very smooth process.
That's
Mm.
okay.
But yeah,
We got time.
just the relation between the nine-sided circle and Islam. What is the relation?
The relation is that a lot of this stuff was delivered to us through Islam. And some of us are Muslim. And not all of us are Muslim. You can be Muslim, you can be Jewish, you can be Christian, you can be Hindu, you can be Zoroastrian, you can be any of the 10,000 flavors of shamanism. You can be all of that stuff and still do the work, because the work is not about religion.
Okay.
If I can add,
question.
Yes.
Just a quote, but I forgot who it is by. It's some Sufi guy. And I remember reading it, and it said, or he said, if you worship the name, then you are an unbeliever. If you worship the name and the meaning, you are a polytheist. Worship the essence, which is the meaning, and that essence doesn't matter the language, doesn't matter the religion or whatnot. It's, I believe, that divine reality that we're all here working towards connecting to in the here and now. So the form of, from my experience of the nine-sided circle, is in a Islamic form or Sufi form, if I will, maybe that's a better word. But the essence in it is can be found in many other places. Just the form may differ.
Yeah, that is brilliant. If you ever figure out who said it, let me know, because I want to steal it from them.
Yeah, that's what I want too. I want to have that quote.
Yeah,
I think that would be beautiful
I
to share on the
suspect that it was
forum.
even Otterby who said that, or he said things like it. But yeah, keep your eye out, and at one of these moments, it will come by, and you go, "Oh, I got that."
Yeah, and share it with the group on Facebook.
Yeah, I have often described us as Advaitist Sufis.
Yeah, we've gotten, we've kind of been in the mood to reclaim that a little bit lately.
And this is not a new thing. I mean,
You've
Ibn
been using that
Arabi's
term for a while too.
work has been around the oneness of being. I mean, he had to describe Advaita in a much more circuitous way than, say, any of the Hindu guys did, because he didn't want to get burned at the stake. And he had examples of people who did not watch their words, like Mansur al-Hallaj, and ended up in big trouble. So, he baffled them with bullshit. He hit them over the head with so many complicated words and phrases that they didn't know what the hell he was saying. But if you listen carefully to him, He is saying God is one. Being is one. There is one being. Other than God does not exist. Other than being does not exist. If you
Up, down,
think that
left,
it is
right.
you and me, you're a polytheist.
Yeah.
Even if you think, oh, there's me and God, you're a polytheist. And of course, this upsets the fundamentalists, and they get all mad, and they send people to harass you, and that's fun.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I don't want to rag on people who do practice polytheist paganism and stuff, because I do think that there can be a kernel of the same exact thing we're talking
Oh,
about.
sure there is. I've known
Yeah,
many
exactly.
Advaitist pagans.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, you know, if you dive into Hinduism deeply enough, you discover that all of their gods are just their expression for the divine names,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. All of our
Yeah.
divine names are expressions for, yeah, whatever.
Right. Yes.
It all fits together.
Exactly. Yeah. So language will always fall short of this essence that Osama you're talking about, and what we try to get at through all these different angles from week to week. So that should always be in the back of our minds.
Yeah. And the first
Hello.
step out of that is to practice presence. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, Khalil, lay it on us.
Yeah, just touching on this point, I think that the line between being a kafir, being a polytheist, and being a devout Muslim doesn't matter how many gods you worship. If those gods are just reflections of your own ego,
Mm-hmm.
you can even call it Allah, and it's still a reflection of your ego, and you're a kafir.
Yeah.
But if your god is named Zeus, but for you Zeus stands for ultimate being, not for your little ego desires, then you are a faithful Muslim, even if your god's name is Zeus.
I love that.
Well, you know, I like to point out that
Yeah.
Allah is the Arabic name for God, just as Dieu is the French name for God. Dios is the Spanish name for God. God is the Germanic name for God. The names don't matter. God has infinite names. And so, yeah, if somebody worships Zeus the way I worship Allah, we are on the same team.
Agreed.
And I can hear all them fundamentalists out there. He's going to go to hell for that one.
Well,
Well,
we're going
rather
together, so
hell
it's all
with my
good.
friends than heaven with a bunch of assholes.
Yeah. Yep. Well, are you ready to wrap up?
I'm totally ready to wrap up. I'm
Yeah.
hearing that big ass salad calling my name.
Big ass salad. We
Big
have
ass-
not heard from everybody, but that's okay. We're gonna.
Lynette, do you have any thoughts?
All right.
Have
Yeah.
you started doubting our sanity yet?
Perhaps Lynette will have to offer in the chat. I'm sorry, but I am gonna call on you guys, so deal with it. Nancy, do you have any thoughts before we wrap up? Gotta mute yourself.
Not
There you go.
much. Not much. I was just thinking maybe there's some way to set the right-wing trolls and the Muslim trolls against each other.
Oh, that would be so much fun to watch. Like, make the popcorn, Noor.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Levita, how about you? Any thoughts you'd like to share?
Not really. I think I can't improve on anything that was said. So
It's just very nice to have you here. So thanks for being here, Levita.
I'm glad to be here.
Shuri, how about you? Oh, side stitch.
Oops.
Yeah. There you are.
Maybe it's a hunger pang.
Maybe.
When I first started doing that practice, it was like holding water in a colander with big holes, so like a container. When you say hold, I'm thinking of a container. So that holding that now, the holes are getting smaller, so it's still leaking through. You're still working with that. And that's all I can add to that. That's what it feels like. It is difficult, and it is like holding water through a holy container.
I see what you did there.
But I love that metaphor, and I love the imagery of the holes shrinking as you continue to do the practice and stick with it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I think that we need to reassure each other of that.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Oh, I
And
see it.
it's a process. It takes time. That's why we do it on an Enneagram, is because it's a process. It is a series of events carried out over time towards a particular outcome.
Yeah.
Also, just recognizing what in my life is trying to punch holes in that colander, in that container, to the distractions that stop me holding the now in that process. So you think, there's someone taking a dig at me or something, and I can lose it. Just if I engage with that, I don't have to buy into that. So the life is always full of those little things that challenge you in that way. So holding that now, what is the most important thing in now? So, that for me is also useful.
Also a very good point. So we will leave you all with that. Continue to work on this practice and be ready for the holy container, and just know that that's a part of the deal, and we all have to work through that. Anything you want to add, Mushtaq? Are you ready to get the hell out of here?
I'm ready to get the hell out of here. But you guys have been a lot of fun tonight.
Yes.
I am ever so grateful that, again, you have put up with me.
Yep. All right. Well, I know I'm happy to put up with you, and I think others feel the same.
Yeah, but you like my cooking, so.
He spoiled me with French toast with like strawberries and whipped cream on it this morning. He's a winner. He's a catch. All right. Brady Bunch mode.
We are in Brady Bunch mode.
Brilliant. All right. So let's wave to each other, wave to everybody watching, and
We'll catch
we will
you next
see you
time.
next week. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.